gentlemen, boys and girls, demons and demonesses, and everything in between, welcome
back to another episode of Hazfans Unlimited. It's been quite a hectic year for all of us Helluva Boss fans, but the time is finally arrived. Come tomorrow, July 30th, 2022, we will finally receive what we have all waited so long for, the beginning of Season 2 of Helluva Boss.
With more plots, more drama, and characters old and new arriving to the scene, we here at Hazfans thought it would be good to reflect on everything we've seen, where the story's gone, what we've learned, and how our beloved characters have grown over the year that the first season took the internet by storm.
He's Prince and I'm Doomiest.
And we're here to bring you the Helluva Boss Recap!
We start, as many shows do, with the pilot episode, meeting everything and everyone we'll need to know going forward. In one of the old rundown buildings in the heart of good old Imp City, we meet the crew at IMP. There's the boss, Blitz, a narcissistic and scummy imp whose business practices even make me gag. He's the head of the team, the owner of the company, and is about as self-centered as they come, even by Hell's standards. There's Luna, a gothic hellhound, and Blitz's adopted daughter, with about the same disposition as a middle finger shoved further up your ass than a good Friday night. She manages the teleportation work and reception, making sure the team goes where they're hired to go. There's Moxie, the gaudy and posh marksman imp who manages everything actually related to business at IMP for Blitz. Weak but intelligent, kind but defensive, he's got a big gun, a bigger brain, and an even bigger heart. Though you'd hardly know it when he's the comedic punching bag of the team. And there's Millie, Moxie's wife and the lovable bruiser of the team. She's her husband's foil in every way. A little ditzy but incredibly strong, lovable but oh so very violent, and always optimistic. Together, these four make the immediate murder professionals. Guns for hire against anyone who may have done you wrong in your previous life, and we're introduced to their dynamics pretty quickly. Moxie and Millie have a bulletproof love for each other, and Luna wants nothing to do with any of them like the rebellious youngster she is, but for reasons so far unconfirmed, Blitz is constantly butting into all of their lives, staking out Millie and Moxie's house, and even hiding in their rafters to spy on them, while drowning Luna in attention she just doesn't want. But they do have their job on the surface world, and that's where we meet the fifth main member of the cast, Stolas, a prince of demons with an exceptionally regal air and a horrifyingly dirty mind. It's through him they get their jobs done. Stolas has in his possession the Grimoire, a book that allows those who use it to traverse between hell and the mortal world. Blitz was able to convince him to give it up through some definitely seductive means, and now Stolas has Blitz by the ass because they need the book to do their jobs. And thus, we have ourselves a pilot and an internet sensation. But ladies and gentlemen, we're just getting started.
Because now we're on to episode 1. We meet Miss Mayberry, an elementary school teacher that went to hell after a murder-suicide when she caught her husband cheating on her. It was an attempted double murder, but the woman he cheated with survived the attempt on her life, so Mayberry goes to the imp crew to sort out that problem. And boy did they. It's during this mission that we learn about Moxie's one hang-up about the job of demonic hitmen, families. Smitten with the woman and her family's wholesome atmosphere, he messes up Blitz's shot, and the three are forced to flee the family when they reveal their startlingly violent nature and their even more startling amount of firearms. Despite the team's best efforts, they're all captured. Moxie is captured by the children and brought into the house, while Millie and Blitz are captured by the parents and tied to a stake. It's at this point they learn the horrifying truth. The family are actually satanic worshippers and cannibals, using their human victims for meals and decorations and even furniture. As for the demons, the children intend on playing with Moxie, while Blitz and Millie are to be a return to sender offering to Satan. Moxie isn't about to take this, however, and manages to escape his bindings and escape the children, taking one of their guns while he's at it. He reaches Blitz and Millie just before the woman can kill them, blowing her head off with a stolen firearm. He frees the pair and they all have a moment of reconciliation before Moxie returns to the house to confront the rest of the cannibal family. In a touching moment, he shows them mercy and calls the authorities rather than shoot them. A moment that is quickly dashed when we see the house entirely destroyed in a fireball with the family inside. But their job is done, and though Moxie is now forever scarred, the team celebrates a job well done.
We now move on to episode 2, where we meet Stolas' family, his wife Stella, and his daughter Octavia. Stella, of course, is none too thrilled about Stolas' proceedings. As mentioned in the pilot, he and Blitz do have a bit of a deal involving sexual favors, and Stella is in an uproar upon learning of Stolas' infidelity. Octavia, caught in the middle, has somehow become even more brooding and gothic than Luna, and has quickly grown used to the fighting and screaming that accompanies her parents. Now Stolas, though unfaithful, is a loving father, as we see in a flashback of Octavia's childhood, and in an effort to both get away from his wife and bond with his daughter, he decides to take her to Lululand. Of course, being royalty, he can't go without bodyguards, so he hires the IMP crew to escort them through the park. Though assassins by trade, the paycheck is just too good to pass up, and the whole group make their way to Lululand. Lululand, we soon discover, is a stereotypical theme park. Everything is visibly dirty, horribly expensive, and definitely dangerous and/or scarring to children. What's more, this park is a ripoff of a far more famous park, Lulu World, and sits in the Ring of Greed. That is amusement park bingo right there. Nevertheless, Stolas is ecstatic to be here, remembering all the times Octavia would love to come to the park as a child. And though his daughter insists that she doesn't like it here anymore, Stolas is too into his dream of their bonding to listen. Blitz allows Millie and Moxie to run off to have fun, while he stands guard over the prince and his daughter. As they travel through the park, Stolas brings them to a show that he, through the rose-tinted glasses that every parent wears, believed Octavia absolutely adored. A performance by all of the park mascots,
And led by the robotic Fizzarali, a mechanical replica of a far more popular jester.
Octavia, by this point, has enough and runs off, and Stolas follows her, while Blitz is left to contend with the robot, who seems to recognize him as a former employee of the park. The two sling insults and eventually duke it out, which results in an accident that sets the entire park on fire. The imps battle it out against the seemingly sentient robot clown, while Stolas finds Octavia crying in a funhouse, where they eventually confront each other about their distance. Stolas admits his fault at not listening to Octavia, and she laments that she's afraid he'll leave with Blitz, and she'll never see him again. Of course, being the loving father that he is, he denies this with whole heart. The two reconcile and leave the park as RoboFizz is eaten by a dragon that we see a couple times in the background, and the park is burned to the ground as they all leave.
Episode 3 introduces us to the walking innuendo and sex goddess that is Veronica Mayday, Blitz's succubus ex-girlfriend, as well as her hellhound bodyguard Vortex, who Luna immediately takes a liking to. It turns out that Veronica was in rehab, apparently alongside Blitz's mysterious sister, but now she's out, she's doing some work in the same building Blitz and his crew have their office in, which has led to her swiping Blitz's parking space. Blitz isn't too happy with this, so after Luna almost calls him dad and Moxie unwillingly partakes in 7 Minutes in Heaven with Veronica and her gang, Blitz challenges Veronica and her crew to a challenge. If Blitz and the imp crew can kill more people than Veronica and her succubus gang can fuck by the end of the day, she has to return the parking space to them. After a shittily drawn flyer attracts a crowd of clients, Blitz and the others head up to a beach on the surface to win back their parking spot. It's also revealed in this episode that demons can have human disguises, as Luna, Vortex, and Veronica, as well as the rest of her succubus gang, are all shown to have human transformations, although the imps of the gang, Blitz, Mox, and Millie, don't appear to have this ability. The killing spree is going well until Veronica appears and uses her succubus powers to turn the whole beach into one big sex party. Luna gets distracted talking with Vortex, showing a different side to her, one that's more nervous and self-conscious, unlike the gritty, murderous wolf we see so often. This leads to a heated conflict with Blitz, revealing some of their history, in that Luna was almost 18 when Blitz adopted her, and past or present, she doesn't need him. Meanwhile, Millie finds Moxie completely wasted after humans trapped him in a beer barrel after mistaking him for a possum. But it turns out they've got bigger problems when a giant monster fish shows up, the result of Veronica accidentally throwing her Beelzejuice bottle into the ocean. However, after the fish snags Mox, Millie goes full badass wife mode as she single-handedly takes down the fish. And even after all of that, her first concern is if Moxie is okay. Honestly, get yourself a partner that loves you as much as Millie loves Moxie. If my life isn't like this, I don't want it. The gang quickly come to the conclusion that Veronica was at fault for the creation of the kaiju fish, and in exchange for keeping quiet about it, she returns their parking space. Vortex and Luna part ways with a crushing revelation for Luna that Vortex has a girlfriend. As Blitz and the crew head back to Hell, Veroshka and her gang are outed by the police, but I wouldn't worry about them. I'm sure them and the cops can come to some sort of agreement.
And that brings us to episode 4. Here, we're introduced to a whole new group of characters, cherubim, seeming to be the opposite of imps in every conceivable way. Some of them have even started their own business, giving blessings to the mortal world for those good souls in heaven who wish it. This becomes incredibly important later, when the IMP team is hired by eccentric former billionaire inventor Loopty-Goopty to murder his business partner, Lyle Lipton. Lipton, a fellow inventor, is actually ready to kill himself due to an accident with an invention, leaving him old, broken, and bedridden. But before he can, he's interrupted by the CHERUB, a trio of cherubim named Cletus, Colin, and Keeney, who are here to help Lipton see the joy of life on behalf of those in heaven who benefited from his inventions. Meanwhile, the imps, seeing their opportunity ruined, plot to get Lipton to kill himself, and the two teams are at each other's throats over the joys of life throughout the entire episode. It becomes a rather comical back and forth. The cherubim try to show Lipton some major joy in life, and the imps arrive to ruin it. They try the beauty of nature, the wonder of love, even the magic of childlike glee. But each time, the imps are there to ruin it for all of them. Until eventually, the cherubim decide they've had enough. And then they show their true colors. They're not there to help people out of the goodness of their hearts. They're there because it's their job, just like the imps. Cletus even declaring Lipton a shitty old man. An all-out brawl ensues between the two factions in an opera house, the audience looking on in horror as angels and demons fight to the death. Lipton, sitting there and watching as they duel for his soul, comes to a realization that you only get one life, and that cherishing it is, in and of itself, a reason to live. He declares, finally happy again, that he no longer wishes to die, right before a stray crossbow bolt from the cherubim strikes a rope, dropping an overhanging light to the stage floor. The distribution of force strictly obeying cartoon rules by catapulting an entire piano into the air and right onto Lipton's head, crushing him instantly. The cherubim, their mission failed, swear vengeance and return to heaven, only to be swiftly ejected from their portal, being told by a receptionist that because it was their crossbow bolt that resulted in Lipton's death and murder is a sin, the three are banished from heaven, and we are left with the three of them weeping for forgiveness as the portal closes. The imps, however, believing their job to be failed as well, return to hell, only to be met by Lipton, now accompanying Loopty-Goopty. Apparently, the pair committed several crimes against humanity in making their inventions, so even with his newfound desire for life, Lipton was still bound for hell, meaning this is one more victory for the IMP.
This opening sets up the plot of the episode. Our favourite band of imps, and one hellhound, will be journeying to the Wrath Ring, the home of Millie and Moxie, to celebrate the Harvest Moon Festival. This is an annual festival in Wrath which Stolas has the honour, or dishonour I suppose, of hosting. The gang then heads to Millie's hometown where we meet Millie's mother, father and some of her siblings, including the first transgender character of the show, Millie's sister, Sally Mae. The Wrath Ring is very much the hellish equivalent of a blue-collar working American pasture, containing lots of tough, no-nonsense farmers, lots of beasts to tame, and the occasional flaming horse. So right up Blitz's alley, basically. The dynamic between Millie and Moxie is a big theme in this episode, specifically Moxie and his often questionable masculinity. He doesn't seem to fit in with the other imps in Wrath, and is looked down upon by Millie's family and their farmhands, and is viewed as not being good enough for Millie. Speaking of farmhands, in this episode we're introduced to Striker, the badass horse-riding cowboy that excels at everything he does. He's a stereotypical red-blooded American who rides in on his steed and charms everyone with his unwavering confidence and magnetism, and it's no coincidence that he's the exact opposite of Moxie. Striker then spends the majority of the episode proving that he's better than Moxie at basically everything, first by wrangling a demon hog, then by besting him in the Harvest Moon Games, a series of physical trials. He even celebrates his victory by singing a song, the lyrics of which showing just how how far up his own arse he is. Blitz even reveals that he offered Stryker a job at Imp, making Moxie fear for his future in the crew. A little later, Moxie is looking around inside Millie's house when he discovers a rifle capable of killing demon royalty, belonging to Stryker. He barely gets a chance to wonder how he got it before Stryker ambushes him, and even when Millie comes to his aid, Stryker overpowers them both, locking them in the basement. And just when he's about to off Stolas, Blitz intervenes. Stryker seems disappointed in him, claiming he's only Stolas' plaything while he could partner up with Stryker instead and become the most dangerous beings in hell. Blitz seemingly agrees, but it turns out to just be a ruse to allow Moxie to get in position, and the three engage in a fierce fight. Blitz and Mox eventually have Stryker cornered, but thanks to Luna answering a whistle a few minutes later than intended, Stryker is able to escape. The episode ends with Moxie standing up to Millie's parents and finally earning some respect, as well as the startling revelation that Stolas' wife Stella was actually the one who hired Stryker to kill him. The episode fades to black with Stryker promising to get him next time, a reassurance that we haven't heard the last of this villain.
Now, the entire time this series has had moments in the human world, one question has come up for every fan. How have no authorities gotten involved? Surely there would be some evidence of demonic involvement, some recordings or pictures from bystanders. Well, here in episode 6, it's revealed that is exactly what's happened. Enter the DHORKS, the Dorks, a secret government facility involved in finding evidence of demonic entities in our world. We're introduced to Agents 1 and 2, who are discussing how to find these demons, before it's revealed that IMP apparently had a mission next door, and Blitz creates a ton of noise while exiting the house. But before the three can leave for hell, Agents 1 and 2 ambush them, resulting in Millie getting away and Moxie and Blitz being tranquilized and abducted. So, we have two stories going on in this episode. On one hand, Millie and Luna gear up to attempt a rescue mission, while Blitz and Moxie are interrogated inside. However, given that we understand Blitz is a complete asshole at this point, the interrogation goes nowhere, and the agents decide that it's their turn to play games. Meanwhile, Millie and Luna manage to break into the Dork facility and manage to raise the alarms immediately, no stealth attempted whatsoever. The pair are quick to murder plenty of agents, exploring the rather drab facility as they do. Agents 1 and 2, however, have a different idea for the pair in their custody. They flood the interrogation room with an aerosol truth serum, which causes Blitz and Moxie to begin insulting each other as they're forced to tell the truth whenever they're asked. But then, like all chemicals, they manage to overdose on the stuff, causing the kind of tripping you'd only get after eating at least 7 pot brownies. Not that I'd know, of course. Moxie is forced to face a vision of Blitz in his mind, who he sees as a Phantom of the Opera character, while Blitz is forced to see the inner depths of himself, how he's pushed away everyone that mattered to him, how he's a selfish and greedy imp who has no one to love except potentially Stolas, and how his whole life has been one damaged soul left in his wake after another. Of course, eventually the pair come down from their overdoses, and with this horrifying new experience under their belts, come to terms with each other and seem to forge a new respect for one another, seconds before Millie and Luna burst into the room to save them. And as Dork agents flood the room, we are given the longest, most well-animated fight of the entire series. Full minutes of pure combat and untamed slaughter as the IMP gang tear through agents in droves until there's none left. Save, of course, Agents 1 and 2, who put the facility into lockdown to trap the quartet in there, with Luna unable to read the grimoire to get them out, an interesting attention to detail as dogs and wolves cannot actually see red light, and all of their ammo spent, it seems IMP has nowhere to run, but then the room starts to shake. In a scene straight out of Insidious or The Conjuring, monitors flicker, footprints appear where nobody walks, and Agent 2 is possessed by something that controls the corpses of fallen agents to draw occult symbols on the ground in their blood, resulting in her vomiting a tide of black feathers that form into an abominable monster, which collects itself into Stolas, come to rescue the 4 demons. After traumatizing the pair of living agents, he turns to the others and guides them out, revealing he doesn't actually need the grimoire to travel anywhere, and we leave hell with Blitz and Stolas making out like their lives depended on it. But that wasn't the end of the episode, because right as we think it's over, the 2 remaining agents convene to try and think of their next move, only for Agent 1 to reveal that they had video evidence of the entire incident. Now they had proof of demonic intervention, and were left with the bumbling Agent 1's surprisingly chilling laugh.
And that leaves us with episode 7, the season finale. Despite the incident with the dork facility, it seems our friends at IMP had no trouble getting work again, as the episode starts with Luna opening a portal by spilling a drink on Stolas' grimoire. Which brings up the question of how she couldn't get it to open in the dork facility, but regardless. The gang comes back from murdering a boatload of lumberjacks, and after Moxie throws a chainsaw in a wildly unsafe manner and Millie has bitten her axe in half, Blitz decides he's taking everyone for a round of drinks. But the pair of adorable imps have to decline, as Moxie reveals that today is, in fact, their 1-year anniversary, and he's going to be taking Millie to the lovely Aussie's, an insanely popular restaurant down in the Lust Ring. Blitz, in his infinite stalking wisdom, decides to tag along, against the couple's knowledge or wishes, and he invites Stolas along so he can get through the front door. And it's here we finally see a long-awaited character, the one and only Vivziepop, the real one this time, not a robot, though he does mention the Lululand catastrophe from episode 2. He introduces all of the acts of that night's show, including Veronica Mayday making a return from the show from episode 3, before introducing the opening act of the night, Moxie himself. Unfortunately, Moxie makes a critical mistake. He took his wife to the most popular restaurant in the Lust Ring and sang a love song. Thanks to this apparent travesty, we get introduced to the boss man himself, Asmodeus, the king of lust. He and Vivziepop sing an absolute banger of a diss track against Moxie for killing the vibe of the restaurant, when Blitz decides to step in to save his employee, at which point everyone shifts their attention to him, and he is not spared. Vivziepop stings him before Veronica steps in to talk about how selfish he is to the entire establishment. And then, Asmodeus makes a bad discovery. He sees Stolas. All eyes turn to him, and his and Blitz's relationship is suddenly as public as a newspaper. But before Aussie and Fizz can finish their humiliation routine, Millie decides enough is enough, and knocks out Fizz with Moxie's guitar. The two of them then take to the stage in a final romantic duet that proves that even surrounded by lust, their love shines brightest of all. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for Blitz and Stolas, who leave the Lust Ring humiliated and broken. Stolas invites Blitz in, trying to engage with him in more than just sex, but Blitz shoves the offer back in his face, claiming that their relationship is sex and sex only. Stolas is left crying on the steps of his manor while Blitz returns to an empty house, with Vortex having invited Luna to a party just like he promised in episode 3. Blitz scrolls through his phone's gallery, showing us many key moments throughout his life, including Moxie's first day, his adoption of Luna, his time with Veronica, and even time spent with a young Vivziepop. The episode ends with a picture of his mother and sister, and Blitz lies down on the couch, alone and weeping, with us questioning what on earth Viv could take from us now that she hasn't already taken.
But that is just about it for the first season of Helluva Boss.
We've hit rock bottom, with Stolas and Blitz in an uncertain time, apart yet yearning for love, and leaving us with tears in our eyes as the credits roll.
What do you think could be next for Season 2?
Leave your ideas below in the comments and make sure to subscribe, as when Season 2 does release, you can bet your ass we'll be making content on it like you wouldn't believe. But with that, we're Hazfans Unlimited,
and we'll see you next time.